Anti-Brit Irish bar carded me, so I showed them my Paddy Passport. This was a few years ago and I was working in the US for a month or so. I'm from UK and I was about 35. We were a mixed bunch of Europeans and we were near Boston and we had a night out. We saw an Irish bar and went in. They seemed happy to see us and were asking about our work there and where were we from until I spoke. I told him I'm from UK. The friendly facade dropped away and he immediately asked for ID. I'm no baby face and there were others younger than me in our group. So I showed him my Irish passport. He was so confused. Still hated me. But now I think it was because I was more Irish than he was. I explained my dad was Irish. But I do get to visit the relatives once in a while. Have you ever been? I asked. No answer. Ah yes, the Bostonians think they're half a mile outside of Dublin. For the last 200 years. If it's the Boston I know, they can get super offended by this, yet you can still order an Irish car bomb with a straight face. Try that in Ireland, I dare you. You would actually never have that issue in a bar in Ireland. Firstly, because unless you look like a fetus you're getting served. 18 is the drinking age. Secondly, because there's over 300,000 British people in Ireland, all living quite happily. Might get a few funny looks in some areas in the north, but nothing like the bad old days. Thirdly, because we aren't dickheads. Oh yeah, that feels very American. Just like everywhere, we have dickheads. Back in the 70s, when Guinness was the only beer you could regularly get in the US that had any flavor at all, my dad was in an Irish bar in Boston when it was raided by the FBI for being part of an IRA fundraising ring. There's some organized crime stuff going on in that town. Willing to bet the dude saw you as competition. He probably thought he had a leg up with the ladies telling them about his Irish ancestry. But then you walked in with an Irish passport and accent. The Brits treated the Irish appallingly badly. I don't dispute that. I am British. But it always confuses me how Irish Americans, who have never been to Ireland, and have possibly never even met a real Irish person, think they can be rude to Brits on behalf of their great-great-great-grandmother or whoever. But if an Iraqi or Filipino or Panamanian person was rude to them because of how America treated those places, they would be horrified. Or if an African American mentions the slavery their ancestors endured and want reparations or just recognition, suddenly they believe it was generations ago and they should get over it, as everyone who did the bad stuff is dead and it isn't the fault of anyone alive. It's weird contradictory thinking. Northern Irish person with dual British-Irish citizenship here. Wonder what he'd say if he came across someone like me, lol. Irish, he would have been nicer to ya. Massholes. Paddy Passport. I thought that was a euphemism for a headbutt or a right cross. I saw a thread similar to this elsewhere within the last week where there was a lot of commentary from Irish folk talking about Americans and English people who insist on being called Irish because their great-great-grandfather came from Ireland in the 19th century or so. That is where I learned the term plastic paddy was a thing. I mean, I have some Irish and Scottish ancestry, but I don't go around claiming to be either Irish or Scottish. I'm more Filipino than I am Irish or Scottish. By a long way. Anyhow. As someone from the US but not from Boston, I thank you for doing this. Ah, the Bostonians. Never been within 1,000 miles of Ireland. Yet, as American, have this immovable opinion, based on nothing, about actual Irish folks. Which bar? I'm headed to Boston today, and if it's still open I want to drop by and order a Guinness float. Showin' those plastic patties what a real plastic patty is. Wow. Don't blame all of Boston for this one idiot lol. I lived in Boston for years. Had friends who were English. From England. Irish. From Northern Ireland. And Irish American Boston born. Among may others. We all hung out at the local Irish pub and never any assholery from any of them. There was one time that a friend who was from Northern Ireland had a few too many and had a cry. But he and one of our British friends went in a corner and talked for a long time together. I never knew exactly what it was about. But it did have something to do with why he had left. The two of them were very close in general, and it wasn't my business. All that to say, not everyone irrationally holds grudges against entire countries for hundreds of years. That's just weird AF. This was racial social profiling he did. Not sure what else to call it. I wonder what he had against Brits. I once went to Paris and we went into this one area and boy were we ignored and hated and glared at. Because me and my mother were speaking English and we were not dressed fancy. We went into this small eating place and this one customer went, Anglias, and started ranting in French, and the woman behind the counter snickered. Apparently people in that part of Paris hated the Brits, and because we were speaking English, they assumed we were British, not Americans. Yeah, like the UK is the only area that speaks English lol. They forgot Canada and Australia and the US. Plus plenty of other people from other countries speak English too as their secondary language. I mean, there are perfectly logical reasons both Americans and Irish people hate the British. Not sure why you'd expect a Catholic Irish American to be excited to see you.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epic Ericast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.